everybody. Today we're talking with Lindsey, whose nickname is Linny, and she loves ice cream when it includes caramel. She looks like Sandra Bullock and is a proud New York City native. She recently traded 90% of her belongings for experiences, and today she's going to share with us her travels through Mexico via hostels. So, welcome, Lindsey. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to share.
Yeah, thanks. So we're going to start our infamous 7-minute timer. So how did you make the decision to go to Mexico and do this?
So this has actually been a dream of mine for over 5 years. And I was just, I let fear get in the way for many years and just like not knowing how it was all going to come together. And I actually hadn't traveled out of the country in a while. And then last February, so like right before the pandemic hit, I went on a retreat to Costa Rica for about 3 or 4 days. And that totally like sparked this huge travel itch that I knew I had for a long time. And, obviously then the pandemic happened and isolation, and felt like I was isolated for like 8 or 9 months. And coming out of that, I was just like, enough is enough. Like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. I know that this is probably the worst time to like choose to go traveling, but I had it in my heart. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I was going to finally make it happen, like selling all my things and moving out and just getting on a plane and going. And so, I chose Mexico because, it's a very easy country to get in and out of. And, since this is kind of my first time doing it as a lifestyle, at least I'm not like all the way across the world. Like I'm still kind of close to the US. So
yeah, so that's kind of why. Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit about your staying in hostels. So are you staying primarily in hostels while you're down there? How is that working?
I've been in hostels the entire time until actually today. But yeah, I can certainly speak to that experience. I started so basically last year I did a little traveling in the Yucatan, and then February was when I kind of really that was like the taste of starting this lifestyle. I hadn't actually like sold all my things yet. And then because I knew I was coming home for the holidays to see my family. And then during that time period, I sold my car and I put everything in storage. So then it was like a real deal thing. Yeah. So February is when I started. I decided I wanted to explore other parts of Mexico. So I started in Puerto Escondido, which is a coastal town on the Pacific side of Mexico. And I started in a hostel there. Okay. And it was a good experience. The owners of the hostels, like I feel like if they're really good people and like they really take care of the place, then you're gonna have a great experience. And I totally did at this particular place. I mean, they were very, very on top of cleaning everything every day. Like they're cleaning stuff constantly. It was almost like a little sanctuary. Like they had a lot of little garden there, like flowers, trees. And it was definitely a traveler's hostel. There were a lot of other people like me around my age, digital nomads, people just kind of traveling for a few months. And so, I enjoyed my experience there. And then I moved on to another little coastal town called Mazunte, which is, I guess, considered south of Puerto Escondido. And I spent a month in a hostel there as well. And it was similar experience. I don't know if you have any specific questions about the hostel experience that you'd like me to talk about.
Did you have favorite places or a favorite hostel, one versus another that, did you read about them ahead of time? I mean, how would you, if you've never stayed in a hostel, do you have tips to recommend to others?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I found both of them on Airbnb. Okay. I find everywhere I stay, I typically will research Airbnb, and typically I'll have a conversation going with the owners. And usually I'll book a few days through the website. And then when I get there, like I like to decide like if I'm definitely staying for a month, and then I just pay them directly. And that way I also avoid the extra fees and stuff on Airbnb. So that's definitely a tip. And I always get a private room with my own bathroom. I can't do the dormitories. Like I'm a little bit too old for that. And the first hostel I was in, they didn't even have dormitories. They were all private rooms.
Oh.
So yeah, I would just, it's really hard to tell. Like you won't really know the full experience until you get there, because it's of course about the people that are there. So yeah, I would just say always stick with the private room if you like your privacy. Some people that are like really on a budget will take the dormitories, but you don't really have privacy. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I just look at the pictures and, see if it's a good vibe, if you can tell if it's a good vibe there. And again, like I said, book a day or two so that you don't commit to a full month. And then when you get there, you can say, hey, I like it here. I'd like to stay for 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long you're planning on staying.
Right. I definitely like those 2 tips of being able to
Yeah,
book a shorter amount of time before you commit to the whole time. Even if you're only staying a week, you never know, especially if there's another hostel across town, right? That could be the way to go, and kind of feel it out as you go along. So, do you why are you choosing the hostel instead of something else? Is there a reason you chose that particular experience? I know for me, there's reasons I would like to go to a hostel versus a hotel. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons. And because I stayed in hostels for the last 3 months, I am deciding right where I am right now. I'm actually in Oaxaca City. I did choose to stay in a private kind of apartment, I guess you would call it. It's a studio. It's a small studio apartment. But prior to this, again, like I said, there are pros and cons, but the pros are that you get to meet people, and it feels safer. Like I always kind of connect with the owner of the hostel, and they will look out for you. If they don't see you around for a while, they'll look for you. So safety wise, and so there's always, if you're concerned, if you have a lot of valuable things, or you're just concerned that things can be stolen. Some people are concerned that being in a hostel means your stuff isn't safe, but I've never felt that way. I've actually felt the opposite. Like I make friends with people as soon as I arrive, and we all kind of look out for each other.
Yeah. Oh, there's our 7 minutes. That's exactly how I feel, Lindsay, about it. I feel safer in that community, and they're all travelers. They're doing the same thing we are, right? It's a safety in numbers kind of thing. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was really fascinating. You shared some good tips about traveling via the hostels that I hadn't known myself. So thank you so much. So you said you were going to continue through Mexico, and really quick, where to next? Do you have that in mind?
I've actually it's been heavy on my mind, because I feel like my time in Mexico is coming to an end soon, but I don't know where I want to go. I feel like where I've been led through the country has been very intuitive, and like just having conversations with people, and they're like, oh, you should check it out. Go here, check it out here. So this is kind of how and also it was like a natural progression away from the heat, because it is so hot right now in some of the coastal areas. So I went up towards the mountains, and that's where I was the last 3 days. And it was like 65 degrees as opposed to 85.
Yeah.
And now I'm in Oaxaca City, which is like very moderately, it goes up to 75, I think. And then it does drop down to like the 50s at night, which is perfect for me right now. So I'm going to be here for a few weeks, and then I'm just going to continue to think about it over these next few weeks, because I do have to obviously make a decision. That's one of the challenges, is you kind of have to think ahead, but I don't want to plan that far ahead either.
Right. Well, that's amazing. So thank you again, Lindsay, for sharing your story about traveling Mexico via the hostels. Cindy and I have a new question and answer series. And also, if you have any tips on people we should interview for our series, check the link in the description below, and travel with us through real stories from real people. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.